This is the saddest poem ever written. I know you think I'm exaggerating, but I promise you, I'm not. Don't say I didn't warn you. The title of the poem kind of gives it away. But it's still a great poem. It's called Dog's Death. Don't say I didn't warn you. She must have been kicked unseen or brushed by a car. Too young to know much, she was beginning to learn to use the newspapers spread on the kitchen floor and to win, wedding there, the words, "Good dog, good dog." We thought her shy malaise was a shot reaction. The autopsy disclosed a rupture in her liver. As we teased her with play, blood was filling her skin, and her heart was learning to lie down forever. Monday morning, as the children were noisily fed and sent to school, she crawled beneath the youngest's bed. We found her, twisted and limp, but still alive. In the car to the vet's, on my lap, she tried to bite my hand and died. I stroked her warm fur, and my wife called in a voice imperious with tears. Though surrounded by love that would have upheld her, nevertheless she sank and, stiffening, disappeared. Back home, we found that in the night her frame, drawing near to dissolution, had endured the shame of diarrhea and had dragged across the floor to a newspaper carelessly left there. Good dog. I have had this on my favorite poems list for years. Probably more than a decade at this point. This is my 20th year teaching. And I first started gathering poems that I liked because as I started teaching, I really wasn't a big fan of poetry. I tend to be a very direct person. Doesn't always win me very many friends. And so super imaginative language tended to be a turnoff. Just get to the point, say what you mean. So I started looking for poems that I actually enjoyed. And so that's part of what I'm doing with my poetry reading series. I think of it as Poems I Love. And so this was one of the ones that made the cut early on. What I love about it is that it's not just sad. It is sadness with meaning. It explores why. It encourages us, I guess, to think about why things are sad. The way it's structured, I like the use of rhyme. It's not super regular, but there's a little bit of pattern to it, just enough to draw your interest and attention, through what you hear, auditorily, I guess. It's not the same sort of sad as a dog that you've grown up with. This is a dog that they had recently gotten. The sadness of doing your best and it not being enough, but still that it mattered. It made a difference. So there's a happiness to the sadness. They weren't able to change the outcome of what happened, but they brought some joy to this animal and gave it love and comfort, while it was injured, and provided it support in its last time together. The connection there is super sweet and bittersweet. And then that sort of during and after the experience and during while they're still grieving, seeing the connection that they'd made in the fact that the dog, still is trying to do, what it knows its family wants it to do. So there's so much in this poem. It does a really good job of what I feel a lot of good poems do, not just in terms of sound technique and meter and rhythm, those things, and figurative language per se, but the way that it uses a very clear, very specific example to draw the audience in and make a connection. I haven't had this exact experience. We had a good dog. We had the best dog. And those of you who have had a really good dog, you know your dog is always the best dog. And we had this dog for a long time. But I can't remember whether it was before we had to say goodbye or after that I found this poem and that it just connected with me so much. Even if you haven't had a dog or if you don't like dogs, that sense of loss of something important is something I think just about everyone can connect with. And the sense of that it was still worth it, that it wasn't just all a waste, even in your grief. I think that is something that we can understand. And the clarity and the specificity of this sets it apart from, your experience. The key is that it's about similarity and difference. This experience is not the same as what I experienced, but I can see the moments in there, those specific details and what they meant to the poet and to that family. And I can understand that even though I haven't been through exactly that. And that is what makes a poem. And that is what makes poetry and poetic language so special. So, the saddest poem ever, and yet still a poem I love. If you think you've got an even sadder poem, go ahead and leave a link down in the comments. I challenge you to try to find something that's sadder than this. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.